This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Welcome back to another edition of Copy Chief Radio. Here is your chief, Kevin Rogers.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Great to be back with you, Jonathan, for another hot episode of Copy Chief Radio. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about freelance copywriting. So if you're a copywriter and you're looking to break into the biz, make it your full-time thing, or even get going part-time, you're going to get some cool insights to sort of a day in the life of a copywriter and what we do and what our days look like and kind of challenges we face. And if you are a business owner who has or is considering hiring a freelance copywriter, this is going to be an important and fun episode for you to listen to, so that you kind of know what kind of whack jobs you'll be prospecting out there. So
I'm taking notes.
So proud to bring on a longtime friend and a super hot copywriter, Jody Raynsford. Jody, thanks for being on with us, buddy.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be on.
Yeah, man. So you live you're from Delaware. I can tell by your accent.
Yes. It's a very exclusive part of Delaware. We all speak like this.
It's a gated community, and
yeah, absolutely.
very posh. So
no, I don't imagine Delaware has as much rain as I do here. So
you're in a canoe as we speak right now.
Absolutely, it feels like it.
You're very very long mic cord, and so you're in the UK, and are most of your clients US based, or are they all over?
I have a strange mix of clients. So I've got mainly the direct response clients I have are based in US and Australia, and in the UK I do have clients, but they're more content type writing, and it's like a different sort of mix. Really. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And so you bring a special bag of experience to this game through active journalism. I know I worked with Ben Johnson for years, who was a graduate of journalism, school, got his degree, but never worked a day in his life as a journalist. You were out there in the trenches for quite a while.
Well, if you anyone that's been a journalist knows that you never really work a day as a journalist. But the experience of a journalist, that's how you develop a sense of humor. Pretty much, it's
survival.
It's the survival. It's the development of the ability to write under pressure. And depending on the type of journalism you do. Now, I worked on a weekly magazine, which is by no means the most stressful of any type of journalism. But when you're working to a weekly deadline and you have those weekly pressures, you develop writing becomes something completely different. You aren't, writer's block. All of a sudden, when you've got 2,000 words to write and you go to press in an hour and a half, all of a sudden, writer's block becomes a concept that doesn't really exist anymore. Try saying to someone, I haven't got my motivation behind it. I don't really know, which I'm going to take. Just write the goddamn thing now.
That's funny, because we were just talking about the email challenge in last week's episode, and I was saying how I've discovered that I'm kind of a performance writer, and I need to feel inspired, but that goes out the window when you got we all have deadlines, right? But with journalism, man, print is a whole nother game.
Oh no, absolutely. The interesting thing is that when you become trained in writing at speed and being able to formulate your thoughts really quickly. And so you tend to find that you develop better at doing things. Now, I've done the Ben Settle email challenge as well. And I thought it was something that would come quite naturally to me because I'm used to doing deadlines. But it was quite painful to start off with. But once I found, after 2 or 3 weeks, getting into the sort of swing of it, you find what you're good at writing quickly, and writing stuff in in my own voice and using a particular type of humor, that it just works. It just comes naturally to you. It's really weird. It's one of those things where you have to take a leap of faith, and you start to develop your voice. But the problem with journalism is that it's not really about your voice. Sometimes you create that sort of distance,
right.
Your voice and
sort of unbiased. It's not about. They shouldn't really hear the reporter should not be seen so much, right?
Absolutely. And the issue with that is that it sort of stifles you, and it's very like some proper like news journalism is really formulaic. Mm-hmm. It can be quite depressing place to work as well. So and I focus more on magazine journalism, which means you focus more on being able to like pull out some of the character and pull out some of the story, and actually realizing that story background and being able to put your own experience into it actually came in so useful when I transitioned to direct response copy.
Yeah, cool. Because now you're in charge of voice now. I mean, that's the big thing. And
absolutely.
You and I have experience with this because you write some of my emails. You're the first person I've ever hired to actually write my.
What?
It's a secret.
I didn't know you were one of those. I heard that on the Brian Kurtz interview. I didn't know you were one of them.
Yeah. So, well, I'll tell you, what a weird thing to be a copywriter and say, but it really came down, and this is before I gave up my client work and went, full time with Copy Chief. And so this year I have a lot more space in my head to sit and write effectively, but I literally just couldn't get to it before. And so I tell you what, the idea of, trusting somebody with my voice, here's what I found working with Jody. First of all, he's incredibly witty. He really got me. But was it like he suddenly took over a perfect version of what I would write? No. I don't think it can ever be that. So my lesson in it was you sort of develop a unique voice together. And there are tips I could give him to sound more like me, but ultimately it's not you, it's somebody else. And I just accepted that. I still really like this voice a lot. And I think my readers, now that I am emailing every day, except for Wednesdays, when Jody writes the email that goes out with the blog post, because Jody's also the content managing editor to make sure the blog posts are tip top. And so it makes sense for him to just write the email. I think now people can probably tell the difference a little bit, but it's an interesting thing. And it taught me an important lesson as a copy chief. What's it like for an expert to kind of hand their voice to somebody and trust them with it?
You've almost got to give up on having someone create your perfect voice.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that I can step into your shoes. Anyone can step into your shoes with your experience and your worldview and everything that goes with that, and craft emails based on that. But it's really the closest approximation you can get, which effectively, put it another word, doesn't trick the readers, but it's enough of an approximation to ensure that it feels authentic and it feels genuine and it feels from you. And generally, if you make them entertaining and witty, you can get away with that. The worst thing would be if you weren't known as being entertaining and witty, and then all of a sudden you develop this incredible sense of humor.
Right,
he's hilarious, but the rest of the time he's very, very droll.
Exactly. Yeah.
It goes through this personality change all the time. It's like you're like this crazy schizophrenic. What?
Who are you? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it. Keep them on their toes.
Yeah, and it's funny, especially with you being British too. It's like sometimes I love when you use a word or phrase, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means, let alone would ever say it, because I've never heard that word before in my life.
I know. It's amazing. I try so hard, and especially with on the sales letters I write, with the sales letters that in health and fitness, because there are some huge differences between sort of English, British English idiomatic phrases and American ones. It's a whole learning thing. I know that I will never be able to get all of those, but then sometimes there are some funny phrases that you just don't know. What's it like? The shoe drops or the penny drops?
Oh, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, That doesn't make any sense to me. Penny drop. Right? It's like, I think I'm slowly trying to erase out the inaccuracies in the American language, but no one's.
You should start a site. You should have one of those British to English slang sites or something. Since you're doing all this research anyway, like
the Institut Français, they adjudicate, don't they? You should put up an American phrase next to a British phrase, and then they'll decide on which is the sensible one. That one's sort of ridiculous. Let's keep that one.
Yeah, right. That's hilarious. All right, so let's talk about your life as a freelancer, Jody. So you had this experience. So you've been writing a long time. You having to deliver the goods on time is nothing new. But talk about working with different kinds of clients. I know you have been working consistently with a former client of mine that I introduced you to just because I knew you guys would be a great fit, and that's our buddy Mike Westerdal. Mike is a long-time force in the fitness space. He provides really high quality content, cares a lot, has a great relationship with his list. He knows his voice. And I know you guys have worked similarly to what you're talking about, what you and I went through of sort of deciding, all right, what is our voice when we write together? So talk about Mike a little bit and how that relationship has developed. And then I want to talk about a couple of these projects you've done recently, because I think they're really cool.
So Mike, I would consider is one of those clients where you feel like you've probably struck gold. That you've talked recently about developing like a proper relationship with someone and being able to work with them on a long-term basis in order to, and they're happy for you to take time to develop as well. Because I think when I started with Mike, I was still, he was one of my sort of first serious clients, and so there was an understanding that I would take a little bit of time to come up to speed in getting the voice and getting everything right from that respect. But the relationship we have is almost sort of consultative as well, because Mike, he pumps out products and launches so quickly. He responds to things. He wants to do things. He comes up with an idea. That weekend he'll have a word with his team. On the Monday it'll go into production, and then they want a sales letter, and they're getting ready for a launch 3 weeks later. So for many copywriters, and I think for many people he works with, he wanted to work with copywriters, that's unfeasible. That is these sort of crazy short times. But to me, I don't see that. I never saw those times as particularly daunting. I thought, easily, I can produce something of high quality, matching a thing within 4 weeks, within 3 weeks. But I'll give myself an extra week, and I'll say 4. And so it works really well, and so that's a relationship we've been working on. He's come up with some great products, but the key thing with Mike is that he really understands his list. He really understands what presses it, and he provides a huge amount of information when I'm going through a research phase, and we will sort of go back and forth on headlines, hooks, other things like that, and he's really happy to do that. It's not a case of, oh, here's it, you go and do the research, you come back to me with a sales letter, And similarly, he'll change stuff in the sales letter as well. And I know that people are very sort of precious about that. He'll make tweaks to headlines, or he'll make tweaks to things. And, as long as it doesn't fundamentally affect the sort of the sales psychology or affect anything within it, I'm completely happy with that. And so that's how we've been working together, and it's proved really effective.
That's good. It comes down to that dialogue, Jonathan, that we talk about. It's a running theme on this show. When you have a dialogue with your audience, everything else is so much easier and so much more effective. And because Mike has that very close relationship with his list, it's easy for him to trust you, Jody, on a first draft, get it really close to there, and go, oh no, they won't respond to this. Try this instead. Let's tweak this. Very cool. And so, you said about him moving fast and in responding. And again, that's the dialogue too. And what I love about the last product you guys did, and this, I had lunch with Mike last week, and he showed me just on his cell phone your latest effort together, this sales page. And I was like, oh man, I know it's going to be a huge hit, because every day since, and literally I'm just at a restaurant kind of scrolling through it. I'm upset about what I read.
Yeah, I know. It's the problem. You work in that. I have developed direct response hypochondria. I have sore hip flexors. I have low testosterone. I'm absolutely sure my neck is terrible. Nothing can cure it. It seems until I read the sales letter and I get the product. No, I seem to develop those, but I think that's the key. Really, it's tapping into something that you can see so immediately in yourself and gets you. Looking at other people and then seeing it yourself when you look in the mirror. And so the products and the ideas that we've come up with around that have been based on the fact that they're sort of ubiquitous, really, and they have that effect.
Yeah, they're ubiquitous, but they're also very specific.
Yeah.
And so, testosterone obviously is a kind of a specific thing, but it might solve a tons of different stuff. What I love about the pattern that I'm seeing on what you guys are doing now is, so the last one you wrote for him was about, was Unlock Your Hip Flexors. Was that the name of the product? And it was, I think, his most successful launch, in a long time, or maybe ever. I saw him ever, and congratulations. I think you guys hit number 1 on ClickBank, which is a huge feat. And so, I love that, it's very, because people go, oh, hip flexors, like that isn't a common problem that, millions of people have and need solved. But within the weightlifting industry, in the muscle industry, it's huge because everybody has sore hips and they're constantly trying to stretch them out. And what I love that you did, Jody, is you didn't say just, oh, you'll be able to lift more or get better results from your workouts if you unlock your hip flexors. You tapped into some psychological stuff that I thought was really hot. Like, if your hip flexors are locked, you're more apt to stand in a posture that makes you look fatter than you are.
Yeah.
That was a good one. So
it's the look. Yeah, it's the look. It's one of those things where you picture these guys lifting, and you're thinking about what they do on a day-to-day basis when they go to the gym. What do? They're looking at themselves in the mirror all the time, and they're obviously just trying to sculpt their body in different ways. And so, what is it that's going to hit them in the face most often? What is it that's going to actually cause them to buy something there and then? It's going to be something that ruins everything that they do, that undoes all of their good work. They put a huge amount of effort to it, and it undoes all their work through this tiny minuscule thing that they can change. And so it's tapping into that. It's getting into the psychology of it's all really about the way that you look and how it looks when you're with your buddies, and
or when you're not posing in the mirror, right? It's like I think it's even more effective.
When you're in the bar, that's it. You're in the bar.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like I tapped into that once with Tom Venuto letter, and I said, look, it's when Facebook was just sort of getting really popular and people were posting all kinds of photos, and Instagram. I don't even know if Instagram was around yet, but I said, look, how many times have you been tagged in a photo that was the first time you're seeing it, right? And you go, everybody's camera happy and everybody's posting photos of you, whether you like it or not. And what I wanted to do was bring someone into the moment when they're posing for a photo that they know is going social, right? Because men and women, I love watching people pose for those photos, especially women. They have it down to an art. They got the one leg out, they got the thing, and they're pulling your arm over to all. And I go, what is this? It's like
they're dressing the scene. You're like, what? This is a selfie. What are you doing?
Nice.
Right. And so if you tap into a moment like that and bring somebody into that moment where they're like, oh, my pose was off. Oh, and then what do? They immediately look at the photo and they're like, no, delete that, delete it. Do not post that. We got to do, and then they'll do the whole damn thing over again. Right. So that there's so much insecurity around that moment. If you can drag people mentally right back into that moment, that's hugely emotional.
Yeah, the thing with the strength thing is that it's all about maintenance and everything. They're doing the hard work all the time.
Yeah,
and it's about not do anything to jeopardize that work, and anything to do with the way that it looks or losing that is a a big sort of psychological trigger in that, and that's the thing that you really want to focus on with these pieces.
Yeah. And so the next one I want to cover quickly before we wrap up here is texting neck. I love this whole idea that everybody's staring down. You know what? I thought of this the other day. This is so smart because everybody's aware of it now because we know we're all staring down and everybody sees everybody else staring down. But I was just thinking the other day, I was reading a book and I'm going, wait a minute, I'm doing it now. And people have been
doing it all the time.
People have been reading forever. It's not a new problem. We just made it a new problem.
Monks staring down at vellum in medieval times have got vellum neck. It's always been a problem. It's just no one's ever had to.
Oh, that's great, man. So, yeah, it doesn't make it a fraud. It's just, again, this is our job as marketers, is to identify the connection between an existing problem and getting people to open their eyes and go, oh, yes, that cause and effect is happening in my life right now. Because every time my neck starts to feel a little stiff, I immediately think, oh, my God, there it is. I've got texting neck. Yep.
I like that.
You have to see it. That's the thing. You have to be seeing these things on an everyday basis. Yeah. And if you can see it in your children, if you can see it on TV, if you can see it, on the bus or when you're sat at your car looking around, and you can see these things happening, and if it makes it that immediate, and as soon as you introduce that idea to someone, and they verify it themselves, and you start looking yourself in the mirror and go, actually, oh my God, my neck is absolutely hideous. And then you're like, what? I didn't realise. I'm modern Quasimodo. I have no idea. What? Why did no one tell me? And you're angry at people. And you're so, but it's that visual element to it. So it's a lot more difficult with things like testosterone, and because you're trying to make a link between the way that they feel and energy and things like that. Whereas these ones, it's really clear. And it's sort of a modern. It's a modern subject. It's a modern trend. It's something that's always in the news. And you have your insecurities about your children, constantly being on iPads, and you have your insecurity about the fact that you haven't spoken to your wife in 8 years because she's been messing about on Instagram. And so it just hits home to you. And so that's what makes it really. It really sort of punches you in the gut with that. Yeah,
it's smart, and we got to go. But I love the upsell is how to break your internet addiction. Yeah, right? So it's just a perfect lead in. Really smart. So Jody, thanks for being with us, man. This was a lot of fun. We'll definitely be doing this again. And where can people go get in touch with you? They got to get on your list and see your wit and your emails. Where does that happen?
Yeah, so if you go to www.jodyraynsford.com, that's JODYRAYNSFORD.com, and believe me, there's enough pop-ups on there for you to be able to opt in. If you get on there and you don't see a pop-up, then I'll be amazed. So you'll be able to get on that way.
And that is the British spelling, by the way. So use the proper. All right, thanks, brother. And of course, you can find Jody all over Copy Chief. Active member in there as well, always giving great advice. All right, Jonathan, take us out of here, buddy.
Well, actually, what do you have coming up for us next time, Kevin?
Oh, next time. Yes, 1 week from now. Very exciting. April Dykman is going to be on, who's another really on-fire copywriter out there in the freelance world. And she wrote a great article for Copy Chief blog about how to create the perfect About Us page. And man, it's been on fire, and people are getting a huge amount of value out of it. So she's going to come on and review that article and teach us how to write a perfect About You/About Us page.
Uh-oh, I'm scared. You said dirty word teach. All right, so that's a wrap for Copy Chief Radio. We will be back in your earbuds next week. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Kevin. And especially thank you guys for tuning in. You've been listening to Copy Chief Radio. Thank you for tuning in. If you're digging what we are laying down for you, then your next step is to go over to iTunes, type in Copy Chief Radio into the search bar, and when you find a show, subscribe. We will be back in your earbuds next week.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.